Let's jump right into it. Habit number 7 of pro goalies is that they challenge stability as they build strength. So they're not just making their big muscles stronger, they're also making the stabilizers stronger, but more importantly, they're making them smarter. So here's a little secret that you might not know, and it's that you can't produce force that you can't stabilize. So even if you have really strong muscles, but weak or dumb stabilizers, you're not going to be able to produce that force. It's the same idea that you've maybe heard the saying, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe, because you put, for the force that goes into trying to shoot the cannonball, there's no stability there, so it just gets dissipated in that lack of stability, or in the canoe sort of drifting away. I learned this when I worked at the Fowler Kennedy Sport Medicine Clinic when I was an exercise specialist in the physical therapy department. And I would work with all the varsity athletes at Western University, and I loved working with the football players because they're so big and they're very loud and they're just a lot of fun to work with. But when we'd be working on shoulder rehab, there'd be a lot of dislocations, separations, rotator cuff injuries, so we'd be trying to bring them back to their sport. And this is an exercise I would always go to once they were, pain-free and all that jazz. And so I'd always start by asking them, how much can you bench press? Because they all know how much they can bench press, and they all love to tell you how much they can bench press. I can bench press 465 for, 12 repetitions, and it's great. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do a little push-up on the ball. And really, a push-up on the ball should be easier than a push-up from the floor. If I had a box this high and I put my hands on it and I started repping out push-ups, you wouldn't be super impressed, because you know that that's easier than even doing them from the floor. So I'd sort of set the football player up for that. And I'd say, okay, so we're just going to start with, kind of 6 nice slow ones. And slow makes it a little harder to stabilize. So we're going to go slowly on that. And they'd get up there and they'd get in position. They'd be all ready. And as soon as their elbows bent, the ball would jump to life and take off. And they'd have that look on their face like, wow, that's crazy. So, and then I would always ask them, what's more like what you need to do on the field? Doing, working, pressing on something that's moving and unstable, or lying on your back doing a bench press? And right away, boom, they'd get it. And you should be like that too. So actually, a stability ball push-up is a great exercise. If you come down 1, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, and a nice strong push-up. And you'll find that maybe the first couple times you do it, it's really challenging. Sometimes we'll even put the ball just where the floor and the wall meet to give it a little extra added support, and then you'll gradually move away. But after you do it sort of three days, then you'll see that, this isn't as hard. And it's not that we really made you stronger, that much stronger in those 3 days, is that your body learned how to stabilize while using those muscles. So stabilize close to the joint while using muscles that cross the joint or are further away from the joint. So that's really how it works. It's not that you're not strong, it's just that you don't have the stability when you're trying to exert that force. And then we'll look at, as we do things, so one of the exercises I'm going to give you today is a single leg squat. Well, some of you are going to round your low back as you come down into that squat. Let's use the ball again. Ideally, the ball won't roll away from me as I do this, but as I come down into my single leg squat, some of you are going to round your back every time. So every time you come down, it's a little hard to tell because I've got a black t-shirt on, but you're going to round your back a little bit. Well, why is that? Well, there are 2 reasons. One is either a mobility issue, or it's a stability issue. If it's a mobility issue, it's really easy to tell. So what we do is, if someone's always rounding their low back, I get them to sit in this exact position that we're going to be at the bottom of our single leg squat, and see, can you get a neutral back position? If they can, then it's not a mobility issue. They have the mobility to do that. Then it's a stability issue or a motor pattern issue. So what we do in that case is get them here, get them in that position, and then try to teach them to come bottom up out of that position using their stability. And sometimes you might even have to have, you know, a TRX or a bungee or something to help them learn until they can come straight down and straight up, keeping a proper position. But basically the main point is you can be very strong, but if you're not stable, you can't use that force. So maybe you're very strong in the gym, but when you're on the ice, you have a really weak side and you just feel like you can't put any power into the ice. And it's weird because in the gym, you're really strong. This is probably part of the issue. Let's get into the exercises right now, and we're going to start with a single leg squat. I'm just using a stability ball. It's on turf. It isn't going to roll away. I know that. If you're doing it at home though, and you're on a smooth surface, or the ball's going to roll away, put it against the wall, use a chair, use a weight lift, like a standard weightlifting bench, something that when you're sitting down, you're at least at 90 degrees or close to thighs parallel to the floor. So that'll be perfect. We're going to get in our single leg position. We're going to sit back with our hips. So the first thing to move is my hips sitting back. I'm keeping my neutral back position. Over on YouTube, we went in depth on why you round your low back and how to tell if it's mobility or a stability issue. So you can check that out if you find that you're doing that. Again, video yourself because you don't feel what you're doing a lot of the time. Key points for this single leg squat and why it's good. A lot of you, when you first do it, you'll find that this knee falls in a little bit, kind of like that. That tells me that you don't have good lateral hip stability. The muscles on the outside of your hip, not saying necessarily that they're weak, maybe they're not weak, but they just don't sort of know how to control that motion because you've never taught them to do it. So we want to think about keeping that knee pointing straight ahead as we sit back in our hips and come up again nice and tall. When we come up, we're going to actively stand as tall as we can. Sitting back in my hips, keeping a neutral back position, and then coming back out of it. For some of you, this is going to be quite a challenge. If you're having a little bit of trouble, then you can use something for assistance, like some resistance bands, or even put your hand on the wall to sort of help you get out of that sticking point. What I don't want you to do is cheat, and you might not realize that it's a cheater move. But here's what happens when you're trying to cheat. You'll lean forward first and then come up. So the first movement will be your chest coming forward. What you're doing is you're shifting your basis or your center of mass. So here, like I'm actually almost just falling forward, and then it's really easy for me to come up rather than using those muscles to come straight up. And you'll do about 8 to 12 on each leg. If you have dumbbells at home and you're pretty good at the technique, then do kind of 4 to 6 and load it up and get a good amount of strength. But if you're new to it and you don't have anything, any dumbbells at home, then you can stay 8 to 12. If you're getting really good at it, you can do 12 with perfect technique. You've videoed yourself from the front and the side. Then you really need to start hunting around to find some resistance. Even just grab your backpack, put some books, bottles of water, canister of detergent, whatever you've got in there, and you can just hold it up here and then I wouldn't put it on your back because I think that's going to just throw you off balance, but you can hold it right here and do that motion. Next, we're going to do a little push-up. A straight push-up was in our workout for, I think it was habit number 2. This one is a lot different, but we even talked about in that first video how push-ups require trunk stability, hip stability. So we're going to keep all those good elements, but with this one, you're going to do your push-up all the way down, all the way up. Then I'm keeping nice and strong in my torso. So I'm bringing my hips and shoulders around at the exact same time. So I'm not, leading with my shoulders and then letting my hips follow or vice versa. It's all together and it's nice and controlled. Then I'm going to get strong in this top leg through my adductors, and I'm going to drive that knee up, bring it back down, rotate everything together, down, up, everything together. I'm staying strong in my shoulder, pressing this hand into the floor, driving this knee up for a pause, back down, everything together. Start with about 4 on each side, And that is the tempo I want you to go. I want you to have to control that rotation of your torso, rotation at your shoulder, holding that top position when you do that bottom leg knee drive, and hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds. I'm going to totally level with you here. This exercise has nothing to do with rule number 7. I just think it's a really important exercise for you to do. So I'm sneaking it in here, and I couldn't think of any kind of excuse to give you. So I'm just going to fess up. You're going to get to the wall. You're going to get your bum, your shoulder blades, your shoulders, and your head touching the wall. Then you'll come here. So you'll bring your arms up to about 90 degrees, and my elbows are bent to 90 degrees. From here, I'm going to rotate back, and I want to try to get the back of my wrist, I can't extend my wrist, but get the back of my forearm against the wall, and I'm going to hold that for 5 seconds. While I get back there, though, I can't, extend my back and lift my low back off the wall. And I'll have a neutral sort of arch position. Let me try and show you a bit better what I mean as we go here. But I'll have a neutral arch in my low back. So here there's a space in my low back. But as I do this exercise, I want to increase that. So I can now, when I'm in my starting position, I can get my fingers kind of behind my back, but I can't slide my whole hand through. Lots of people, as they come back, because they don't have the range of motion in their shoulder, they extend here, and then they can, hello, bring their whole hand through. So you want to keep your ribs down as you go back. You'll hold for 5 seconds, come back down just to here, and you'll hold for 5 seconds. Again, watch so you're not doing that. Some of you will do it and be like, I don't get it. What's the big deal? Then really, you don't need to do this exercise. You've got great shoulder external rotation. Some of you will do it, and it's going to be probably the hardest thing that I've ever shown you how to do, and you're going to absolutely hate it. You're welcome. Do 6 of them holding for 5 seconds. Really like this one, how it demonstrates the importance of stability in generating force, and it's an inline half kneeling chop. So inline means that my knee and my heel are right in line. If there was a white line painted on the turf, I would be lined up, foot and leg right in line on that line. I just said line about 17 times. I'll try not to say it again. But from here, we're going to chop down and stop. So quick chop down, stop. Quick chop up, stop. Chop down, stop. Chop up, stop. So here I'm using my torso, my core stability, and I'm thinking about bracing lightly with my abdominals, but also there's a lot of hip stability that goes on. And I think this is has a good crossover for on the ice. There is a lot of single hip stability required that you're probably not even aware of. So let's see how you do with this one. If you can do it without losing your balance. You'll do 3 this way, boom, and then same leg, you'll do 3 this way. Then you'll switch your leg positions. If you don't have a medicine ball, you can still do it. You can do it with anything you have at home. A textbook, just, a water bottle, anything you've got. You can even do it just with your hands to see if it throws you off balance at all. This is a more advanced, more dynamic progression from that last exercise. So once you've mastered that last exercise, this will be a good challenge for you. So I'm in my single knee balance position. This foot is off the ground. Then I'm going to put it down, hop, come back as quickly as I can to a single knee balance position. Ideally, I don't want to be using my arms. I would tell you to use your stick, but then you're going to be leaning on your stick and putting your stick on the ground. So let's just try to keep our hands fairly stable. Pay attention. What's your body doing? Do you lean away as you push? I don't want to do that, right? I want to still kind of turn in the direction I want to go, get everything moving that way, but it's pretty tricky. So here, boom, and then right away, back into balance. Right away, back into balance. As quick as I can. into that balance position. So I like that because you have to quickly find your balance from moving. So you have to decelerate and then reestablish your balance. And then also you can't really preload very well. You just have to get that and then push and drive right away. So I think it helps break you of some bad habits if you do it deliberately. And you would do 4 to 6 of those each way, but focusing on being stable in your torso, getting a quick, powerful push. Not a big, humongous push, but getting that foot down and driving your body really quickly and then reestablishing your balance and stability. So those are some drills that illustrate the importance of building stability as you build strength. And it's something that pro goalies are doing quite well over the last kind of 2 or 3 years, are really getting the idea of it. So that is your habit number 7. If you like this video, double tap. If you're on the YouTubes, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And then, of course, if you subscribe, you want to hit the bell. And I will see you tomorrow for habit number 8.